Hey guys, Chad Andrews here with Total Cyclist Training Centers, Coaching, and Camps, and I am back with two special guests, as you can see in our Zoom here. We've got Ann Groninger of Bike Law. Ann is a proficient lawyer who defends, and I'll let Ann, you can go into more of that, but very influential in the cycling community. And we've got Jeff Viscount of weeklyrides.com, and Jeff also is a cycling advocate, philanthropist, and just as important, he's taken some instructions to guarantee and ensure the safety of all cyclists out there by having his own social platform wherever he is very popular with, either agreeing or disagreeing with cyclists. And the reason why we are here is because Jeff and I and Ann used to have a podcast that we did a while ago, but life got in the way and then COVID jumped in, and Jeff called me out on Facebook, but not personally. He called me out privately, which was
privately.
Better, I guess, because I got a private message. But it was more about, I did a beginner video with a beginner cyclist, road cyclist, not a beginner cyclist like somebody who just jumps on. And I want to dive into it, and it's going to lead to other things. So Jeff, thanks a lot. Ann, thanks a lot for joining me. So what's going on during, real quick, like what's your COVID life like, Ann?
It's pretty crazy working at home most of the time. 11-year-old at home, trying to ride whenever I can. I still get around by bike all the time, but everything's been just really turned upside down. But we're fortunate compared to a lot of people's situations. I can still work. All that's good. So we're thankful for what's still there.
Well, good. Jeffrey, you look a little broken down there, son. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a little crash on Wednesday, but nothing serious.
Not anything where you're going to need Ann's services, right?
No, not
okay.
at all. No, I may sue myself at some point in time.
For stupidity, right?
COVID life for me has been normal. I've been social distancing since 1997, so I'm sort of pro at it. It really hasn't changed a whole lot. So
I think you're an ambivert. Is that what they are?
Well, I'm more of an introvert. Most people misunderstand us introverts, but it's not that we don't like being out, but we need our quiet time to recharge. So.
Well, I'll make sure that we go really delicate with this conversation.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about, we've emailed several times back and forth, and we finally got this thing scheduled. And I wanted to address safety, but I wanted to address it in such a broad scope because for those of you who don't know, if you've had your head in the sand for a long time, cycling and ridership has exploded. Like the necessary fallout or the unnecessary or the unintended fallout for COVID is that bike shops are inundated. They're hiring people right and left, which is a good thing. I think Ann and Jeff would agree, but it also presents other problems. Like there's a section of Total Cyclist that's growing right now that I never thought of, is teaching little kids how to ride bikes. That's pretty cool. Parents are calling me saying, hey, look, I want you to teach little Johnny, first of all, because I don't want them to kill me. But more importantly, they're looking for a situation where it can be done safely. And when Jeff called me out on Facebook, there were some steps that I missed that I know what the steps are, but unfortunately, I didn't address them in the video. So Jeff, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on how the cycling industry has changed, and I think changed for the better in the future of cycling? And we're not talking racing here. We're just talking people riding bikes.
Yeah.
What has it done, and what have you seen?
Well, I'll plug Ann's article right off the bat. Ann did a blog post on sort of bike riding after COVID, and she delved into a lot of just the boom that's gone on. These bike shops are seeing just a huge number of new customers. We're seeing a lot of cyclists on the road that are out riding their bikes, whether it's in the neighborhoods or whether it's joining group rides, whatever it may be. A lot of new riders and a lot of folks that don't know what all the rules are or the safest ways to do things. And sort of what prompted some of this was in that video you had done you showed a cyclist making a turn, but they didn't signal the turn. And simple things that for you and I might be second nature, as we talked about, somebody watching that video who is new and wants to learn needs to know those things. So it's important that we find a way to encourage these riders. We don't want to shame them. We have a tendency to see riders, someone without a helmet, that we want to yell at them for not wearing a helmet. In today's, in this COVID world, where so many of these riders are new, maybe they don't know they need to be wearing a helmet all the time. Maybe they think they just need that helmet if they're doing one of these big group rides. And if they're just going to the grocery store, they don't need a helmet. Or maybe they're on the wrong side of the street and they don't know that they're supposed to be on the other side. They're supposed to ride with traffic, not against it. Because other than, if you're a walker or a runner, you go against traffic. As a cyclist, you go with traffic. So, we want to encourage these new riders. We're seeing so many of them. We don't need to assume that they should know. We need to assume that they don't know. And how can we help them?
Hey, you said maybe. Have you seen instances of the things that you're speaking about? Because I clearly have. Even on the
I think right now one of the number one problems is that we're seeing, especially with people riding their bikes on the roads, is riding on the wrong side of the road. See a lot of that.
Now, did you stop them?
I'll stop them if I have the opportunity to. One of the things that sort of, and Ann and I have talked about this before, it's really frustrating when the community wants to go to social media and sort of make fun of these people. And my question usually is just what yours was. Well, wait a minute. Did you stop them and talk with them? Show them what they should be doing? We see a lot of riders that are getting on bikes now, again, that just don't know. And they need that experienced rider to say, hey, and there's ways to do that without, there's a way to offer help without sounding like a jerk. And so if you have that opportunity, you should. I try to whenever I can.
Good. And what about you? What have you seen?
Well, I don't get out at all, so I'm just kidding. I kind of the same thing. I haven't been out doing group rides or in the recreational cycling world in the last several months. I've been riding mostly solo.
And I applaud you for that.
What's that?
I mean, I applaud you for that.
Yeah, it's actually been really interesting. This is sort of a sidestep, but I've never in my life, I've been riding a road bike. I've been mountain biking for longer years, and I've been riding a road bike, but I've been riding a road bike for about 20 years. And I've probably done more solo rides in the last 3 months than I have my entire cycling years. And I've actually been really enjoying it. So that's been kind of nice. I miss riding with my friends, but it's kind of nice to see a new aspect. Anyway, but I do still ride my bike to get to places I need to go around town. And so I'm seeing, kind of the same things that you guys are seeing. And I agree with everything Jeff said, that we should be encouraging. We should try to talk to people. We should make resources available, let people know about resources. Ultimately, I see it as 100% positive. I have so many people just coming up to me because I don't know, like I was looking for office space a couple of weeks ago, and I rode my bike around where because I have a small bubble where I look, and so my realtor was driving from place to place, and I would ride my bike and meet her there most of the time. And I'd have, people in the building say, oh yeah, I just got a bike and I'm starting to ride and everything. And it's just great because, the more people we have, I think it's sort of an exponential growth kind of thing. The more people that ride, the more people are going to ride. It's going to be safer because there's more drivers who understand what it's like to be on a bike. And also the more bicyclists that drivers see on the road, the more likely they are to expect bicyclists and look out for them. So there's those two things. And those are proven in studies that have been done over the years by different organizations. So it's 100% a positive. And, Jeff's right. We need to embrace new riders and do what we can do to make it friendly for them and to help learn them Sorry, long night. Help them learn or help teach them.
Is that the way you talk to the judge in court? We're going to learn them.
We're going to learn them. I've heard that actually, mostly not from lawyers, but anyway, yeah. So help guide them in the right direction. So
Well, these are great points, but it brings out a layer of complexity that we've talked about off air, and we're going to start with this. We're going to lead with this. Should cyclists be required to get a license so that we don't have to deal with the safety aspect? And if we do, it came from, they've already been educated about this. They should know better. Jeff,
Absolutely
you
not.
first. Oh, no, Ann chimed in. Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead, Ann.
I feel very strongly about this, but I'll let Jeff answer first.
Well, I think that first of all, I would not require a license. I don't think that that's the step that I would look for. I think that cyclists reach a certain point where if we're sharing the road system with drivers and the dangers that are involved with that, it's very frustrating to me on social media because I find it if I was a new cyclist, I would find getting involved in cycling very scary when I read a lot of the stories that cyclists want to share on social media about cars buzzing them, about people throwing things at them. It just seems like we share all the negative. And a lot of times I look at those instances where there have been interactions between cyclists and motorists, not physical or verbal, but crash type situations. And what could the cyclist have done to mitigate that problem or to recognize it before it even happened and avoid it? I think education, we talk about education with everything. We're never going to get to Vision Zero without better education. And I think that we're never going to get to a truly safe cycling environment if the cycling community isn't willing to share their part in that responsibility by doing all they can to learn more about how to ride safely. Ann's going to bring up the barrier to getting involved in the sport, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that it's a complicated entry point. I don't want to discourage young kids from riding around the neighborhood, but I don't want to require people to be required to get a license either. But I think that there's some space in the middle there where the experienced level cyclists can do more to encourage entry-level cyclists to obtain more knowledge about how to ride a bicycle safely. And it's not a matter of the cyclist, the motorist that can kill the cyclist. It's a matter of what can the cyclist do to avoid getting hit by the motorist. So there's a lot when we talk about the LAB Smart Cycling courses or the Cycling Savvy courses, where a lot of what we teach cyclists is more about understanding conflicts, what they are, where they occur, how to spot them, and how to avoid them. And so when I talk about education for cyclists, I would like to see more experienced level cyclists be more encouraging to upcoming cyclists about getting education like that before they take to the road and ride their bike.
Ann?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think there should be a kind of requirement because I think that is a barrier and it is prohibitive. But I do think that there's a lot more that we could be doing as cyclists. As Jeff mentioned, being encouraging on social media and providing resources and things like that. I think that also there's a strong role for enforcement. This is sort of in a different vein, but I think we need to do a lot more enforcement of, just bad driving behavior. Like the other day I was at a light and I was first in line at the traffic light and a driver drove around me to turn right. I was going straight. I was like, no one would ever do that if I were a car waiting to go straight, nobody would go around me on the left. to turn right. Oh, it's ridiculous. So,
but in that case, Ann, from an education standpoint, if you were the first in line at the light, we would have encouraged you to be more center in the lane.
guess what, Jeff? Where do you think I was?
Yeah, no, if that's the case,
turn lane and then went around me.
Yeah. But if that's the case, if you're the education can only go so far, right? If we can teach people to do things the right way, as from the perspective of a cyclist, and if they do, that still doesn't mean that things will always go in our favor. But in most cases, we saw the same thing on Sunday. We were making a left turn from a left turn lane, and a vehicle that came up slowly behind us in the right lane, and we thought they were just going slow because they were being nice. When we got to the intersection, made the left in front of us. So we see all that craziness too. But then I also, Chad, like I witnessed at the Booty Loop. At the Booty Loop, you can sit at the top of Hopedale, where the cyclists come to the top of that climb and they make a quick right onto Moorhead, and then they make a right onto Selwyn. You can sit there all the time and watch cyclists filter past the stop traffic, filter past traffic that's turning right as well. And in those situations, I'm surprised more cyclists don't get hit at that corner. And I think we're just lucky that they don't. But those are other situations where, sometimes it's our fault. Sometimes it's their fault.
Can I strip that down just a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
Because I ran into the same problem, but we're not talking general cyclists. I ride in Uptown Charlotte. By the way, for those of you who are watching, Booty Loop is this famous 3-mile loop that all cyclists have ridden on. If in Charlotte, if you're an avid cyclist, you've put thousands of miles on that loop. Well, I was near the Black Lives Matter. I always ride through that way because I just think it's fun and it's unique and it's different. But there are always kids. They're riding their bike and they're riding wheelies and they're running every single stoplight, and it's just nerve-wracking. And it's just like, well, do I stop these kids and go, look, you got to obey traffic? Now, they're probably going to look at me, shut up, old man. But it's one of those things where we're talking at the highest point of Jeff and Ann. You guys were talking about like serious cyclists that have an idea of what they're doing. But I've got these kids that are no.
But here's my thing, Chad. I mean, we should be amongst ourselves talking about this, and we should be, doing more to guide new bicyclists. And there's different categories. So some people are just riding their bikes around the neighborhood. They're going to need one type of instruction. There are people who picked up a new road bike and said, hey, I want to join some groups, or I want to go out and ride the airport loop or whatever. They need a slightly different type of instruction, with a lot of overlap, of course. But I mean, one thing that we keep missing is that we don't have the laws. We don't have the enforcement. Bicyclists are still marginalized. And a lot of that is because we don't send the message that this is an important part of transportation. So we closed a few streets. Portland closed like 20 miles of roads or something like that. I think Charlotte had 3 roads closed. One of them is right by my house, and it's Romney Road, and I'm on it all the time, and I can tell you that it is not closed. They have the barriers up, but people who aren't residents on that road are speeding up and down that road just like they would have before. So it's kind of, it's not real. So, I mean, in order to continue the momentum of all these people that bought bikes and drained the bike shops of their inventory, in order to keep them riding after this is all over, we need to do so much more as a community, so that the guy who rolls down his window and throws something at a bicyclist, he's in trouble. Everyone looks at him like he's a jerk. That's not the norm. It's not accepted. But right now, it's kind of accepted. Like, at a minimum, people are annoyed or whatever. No, you should be thanking us because we're getting around town without tearing up the roads and emitting, pollutants into the air. We're taking a car off the road. You're freeing up a parking spot. But instead, drivers look at us. It's a mindset. They look at a bicyclist as somebody to be tolerated.
An inconvenience.
Yeah, inconvenience.
But
So,
doesn't that go back to the point, the original part of this discussion? My daughter, before she took the driver's license test, didn't know any of the rules of the road. After the license test, she knew a lot of them.
I think it's really
And the same
great.
thing.
Actually, that's a really good point. I think the people that take the time to teach their children or put them in a class where they learn, or Charlotte Bike Camp, or teach kids to ride, any of those, or your program, teaching kids, they learn important lessons about driving that'll stay with them when they become drivers. And I think that's great. So, my son spent a few weeks or a week for several summers in a row at Charlotte Bike Camp, and he knows so much more about driving and traffic and navigating on the roads than most 11-year-olds, I would imagine. So I think definitely start them young. It could be offered in schools. I think that would be great. Offered as part of driver's ed, offer bicycling training. You have to learn how to navigate a bicycle on the road in order to get a driver's license. That's pretty radical, but I think it'd be awesome.
Well, I think we've dumbed it down, Jeff, where we've said it's just like riding a bike. So I don't think we're ever going to see that in school, which just sucks, because I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
There's some programs out there. The Strider company has a program. In fact, it's very active in Charlotte Mecklenburg right now, where their goal is that every child that comes out of first grade knows how to ride a bicycle. And
Oh, wow.
they start them in the kindergarten program. They have a very special Strider bike that they built that has a bolt-on bottom bracket, so that when the kids learn how to use the Strider bike, the next step is that they bolt on this bottom bracket with a chain, and they learn how to pedal. So they go from Strider bike to pedal bike. And they're in, I don't know the exact number of schools. We've been working with them for some funding issues, but there are a lot of programs like that. But honestly, my concern, I don't disagree with Ann about enforcement. I mean, there's so many little little prongs of this problem, whether it's, as to how we make cycling safe, getting people on bikes, enforcement, equity, just engineering, better street infrastructure, designs that are helpful for cyclists and don't put cyclists in dangerous situations. But again, I just come back to, I feel like, and I'll take a lot of grief. If I don't take enough grief for Mick Ultra, I will take a lot of grief for the statement that I just feel like the cycling community, the recreational enthusiast bike riding community, is not willing to take to get the education, or to explore the education that's available there, to at least understand different ways of riding their bike that may keep them safer. A lot of it's very counterintuitive information. We are all riding our bikes based on what we learned as kids. And unless you've taken the time, you're probably still doing the same thing. I get asked so many questions. Just a few weeks ago, there was on social media about filtering past cars at a stoplight or at a stop sign, and why we don't do that. There's not a day that doesn't go by where there's a question being asked on social media that for a lot of people would go, what do you mean you don't know that? But there are people that don't know that. And then it's always fun to see the answers they get, the right ones and the wrong ones. But a lot of this information is available for free. There's a lot of good training information on both the League of American Bicyclists website and on the Cycling Savvy website, where you can start to understand the core values that they teach, the principles that they teach. But again, just, it's for me, it's frustrating because I know the outcome of taking time to do it, and it's hard to communicate that to others without just being, you just don't like cyclists, or you you're for motorists, not for cyclists. I mean, I hear all kinds of things. It's frustrating. I don't think we are handling our responsibility as well as we could.
Who's we?
The cycling community. I think we could do more. I've had conversations with a specific group of cyclists, a specific group that's a very popular group, and on their rides they end up in what we call platooning. So rather than keep the group together, they just sort of, everyone goes at their own pace, and they'll get out on a road and they'll end up in large platoons, 2 or 3 riders here, and then another 50, 60 feet up the road, 3 or 4 more riders, and then a little further down the road. And so you have, instead of one big group, you have all these small groups. And what happens is motor vehicles now have to pass 3, 4, 5 groups instead of one group. And every time they have to do that, it's a challenge and it's an opportunity. Side swipes are the most common way you're going to get hit if you get hit on a bicycle on a rural road. Trying to teach these groups to, the opportunity to keep the group together in one group, or at least maybe 2 smaller groups, not all these spread out platoons, and how much safer that can be. The kickback is amazing. I mean, it's just like, well, we don't do that. We do what we do, and that's why we do it, and we're fine. We've never had a problem. So how do you, what do you do with that?
I mean, Ann, is that safe for them to be riding like in groups of 3s or 4s? And I mean, would you encourage that? And then have another group of 3 or 4? Because I know that a lot of motorists out there would be like, get out of my way. I mean, I passed 2 of you. Now I'm done.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I mean, I guess it depends on how far apart they are. If they're a mile apart, then it's probably easier to pass 4 than it is to pass 20. But
these are, within a quarter a mile, 5 groups of 3 or 4 riders each.
You should plan that ahead of time and space it out a little bit more.
Yes.
If how it's going to happen. But yeah.
So what about? I know that we what would you guys tell straight out of the gate? And we'll start with you. What would you tell a family if they came to you and said, tell us 3 things that we can do? And I know that opens up a whole nother Pandora's box, but we've got to start simple and we've got to start somewhere. What is something that you could tell? Because really, I'm actually not really targeting the regular cyclist, because unfortunately, that's a group that has a much harder head and an eggshell that's a lot more like, kryptonite than it is anything else. I'm talking about like the families and the groups of people, like the kids, because they're out of school. I've seen so many kids riding their bikes. It's so great. But then I also see that all of them are doing something wrong or unsafe. How do you approach that, Ann?
Well, I mean, if it's possible, take a class together, because there's nothing like hands-on learning. There's a number of ways to do that, a number of resources out there. There's resources online that, provide, Jeff referenced a few of them, that provide kind of a summary, but I think hands-on is great. And also if you can get in with somebody who's experienced and ride with them and have them tell you why they're doing what they're doing. And when I say experienced, I mean experienced and doing it the right way.
Thank you. There's a difference between experience and knowledge.
Yeah. No, that's true. There's a number of different ways. It would depend on the person, but definitely, learn from someone who knows how to navigate a bicycle in traffic. I mean, and also I'd advise them to think about, to just think about things as you're approaching, so when you're driving a car, these things are sort of second nature because you've been driving a car a long time. So, if you're 30 years old and you get on a bike for the first time in 20 years, it's not second nature, but think about how, it's the same rules of the road, and there's some differences. But you can be thinking about, where am I visible? Am I as visible as I would be if I were in the car on the road? If I'm riding down East Boulevard in the bike lane, and there's cars backed up to my left and there's cars turning in and out, are those cars turning in and out going to see me? And if not, what do I need to do? Do I need to slow down a little bit? Do I need to get in behind the cars so that, I'm more visible in traffic? Or, just be thinking about the different scenarios that might come up, and just and understand that you have to, it's, if somebody pulls out of a parking lot without looking for somebody on a bike, knowing there's a bike lane there, knowing there's a sidewalk there, and people going up and down, and I'm using East Boulevard as an example, I mean, that's their fault. But at the same time, that's possible, that it's possible that would happen. So when I'm riding with my son and we're on a busy road and we'll take the sidewalk, he knows that we're not going to go more than like 5 miles an hour, because we want to be able to respond to those situations quickly.
So you did, Jeff, you did say something about the sidewalk. So I was like, okay.
Ann's, again, that's sort of, she's reiterating what I've been saying, is that, basically, if you choose to ride on a sidewalk, you need to know what the conflicts are. Because if you know what they are and how to spot them, then you can mitigate them. And just as Ann said, when we ride on a sidewalk, we're going to go slow because we know that the bushes at the corner of that driveway may be blocking us from the view of a driver backing out of the driveway. I can't count on that driver to see me, but I can count on myself to see that driver. And even though maybe I shouldn't have to stop, I'm going to stop because I don't want to get hit by the car. That's the whole thing that we push when we talk about Cycle Savvy, the empowerment to ride your bike safely anywhere. It's more about understanding what the conflicts are, understanding how you fit into traffic, how you fit into I can, in a Cycle Savvy class, we can take a cyclist from 3rd Street, where 3rd and 4th come together in Uptown Charlotte, and merge over and make a right-hand turn on McDowell Street and do it and be comfortable doing it. I know experienced cyclists right now that would tell me you can't do that. But if you get the right instruction and you understand how to do it and you know where the conflicts are, you can do it, and you can do it easily, and you'll have a whole new outlook on riding anywhere. But Ann's really just, she's saying what I've said. Know what the conflicts are, understand where they can happen, understand how to recognize them, and use that power and knowledge to mitigate them and avoid them completely in most cases.
So really,
I would take that same family and have fun. Let's figure out where you're going to ride. Let's figure out where you want to ride. Are you going to stay in the neighborhood, or do you want to make it to you want to get over to TCBY and get a frozen yogurt? And what's the safest way for us to do that, and how we're going to do it as a family. Looking at the way they're going to get there, and then talking about if it involves sidewalks. Most bike rides like that are going to involve quiet neighborhood, low traffic, low volume streets, sidewalks, greenways, maybe a few busy street crossings. So I would talk with them about those things to help them make that trip. I've done 3 now neighborhood bike rodeos where neighborhoods have invited me in to just a few neighbors that want their kids to learn some bike safety stuff. And we'll go in and do a little 3-hour class on a Saturday morning and make it fun, do some games, put some cones out, make some races out of it. But the whole time they're learning that as they ride around their neighborhood, if they're on the sidewalk, what to look for. If they're in the street, what to look for. What does the stop sign mean? What does the yield sign mean? So we try to make it educational and fun at the same time. But those are the things with that family that I would do.
And Ann, I'll be completely honest. I have watched your son grow up for many, many years, and how many families would look at what you do with Max and go, there is no way I am going to take him on that road and do that. How do you go, no, but really, if we do it this way, it's actually safer?
Well, I do avoid some roads with him. I mean, there's some places that I would ride myself that I won't take him just because he can't ride very fast. Still. Maybe we would do them on the tandem, but even then, I would definitely take more risks personally than I do with him. But yeah, I mean, it's a matter of experience too. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty high level of experience, both personally and also from the knowledge that I've gained from, talking to just hundreds and hundreds of people that have been in crashes. So, you learn a lot over time. But I'll tell you what, when that family comes up to me and asks what they should do, I'm going to give them Jeff's number. Now I know the answer to that question.
And she's done it again.
And Charlotte Bike Camp, because I think they're absolutely wonderful, but they're full for the summer.
Yeah, in the links below for the video, I'm going to post all the great stuff that Jeff and Ann have suggested in some of the links. But
we can also share, Chad.
Yes, please.
The Charlotte Bike Camps are great. They are full. The Learn to Ride program that has been going on, they've had 5 sessions each year. Those have been put on hold with COVID, obviously. But and what that program does is that's really more of a program to teach a kid how to ride. So maybe the parent that doesn't know how to ride themselves, but the child wants to learn how to ride, heck, they end up teaching a lot of adults how to ride at that. The reason I bring them up, though, is because at Arbor Glen, just off of Clanton Road, there was a project done where the Charlotte Mecklenburg Parks and Rec gave us 2 old tennis courts, and those tennis courts were refurbished and repainted, and there's a complete streetscape painted on these 2 tennis courts inside this community park. And anybody's welcome to go over there at any time. Stop signs, right turns, left turns, merges, yields, it's all over. So for young children on small bikes, they can go over there, and it's kind of like a mini traffic system that's set up so that parents or others can work with them and teach them how to ride their bike safely, and what all these signs mean and what all these arrows on the road mean, and do it safely in a quiet, fun atmosphere.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
it's
you
very
should go check it out at some point in time. It's very cool the way it's been done, and it's been a way to use some unused space in parks across the country. It's been done in several other cities, but it's really cool, and it's a great place to take the kids and teach them how to do the things they need to do.
Well, cool. Well, I know that it's a busy Monday for both of you guys, and I'll give you guys a final shot of the bow. I'm quite disappointed that there was no disagreement between you two. That's
we got that all out of the way before you.
Oh yeah, you got it all out of the way. So what I'm gleaning from this whole entire thing is that really, if we're talking the family structure, it's really incumbent upon the parents to get their kids educated on how to ride a bike. It's not just simply putting them on the field and pushing them down the grass and, okay, we're good to go ride your bike. What I'm getting from you guys is it's a little bit more imperative for parents, and even for parents that don't know how to ride their bikes, to search out places like we're going to tag in the description below on educating yourselves on how to be a better and safer cyclist. Is that really just the foundation of where we're going to go?
Ann, I'll let you go first.
Well, I think that's part of it. I mean, I'm really big on and I know this wasn't the direction you wanted to take this, but I'm really big on the community as a whole, not just the cycling community, but our city government and
that's fine.
Police and any powers that be doing more to encourage cycling, and realizing that it's a benefit to the community as opposed to an annoyance or or an obligation. Maybe annoyance is too strong. An obligation. No, we got to make some provision for these cyclists. No, we're going to make our community better. I mean, the more people that are getting from A to B on bikes, the less pollution we have, the less congestion we have. The healthier people are. There's so much benefit to it, and until that recognition is incorporated into the way we build our cities and continue to develop our cities, just counting on the cycling community to make those changes is going to be an uphill battle.
I think it's a chicken and an egg thing, and I think that
I agree.
Political.
Sorry to agree, but I agree.
Stop agreeing with me.
Damn it! Stop it, Ann.
No, political will is an important thing, and so we have some political will, but not a lot. And political will comes from the people. We have so few people actively engaged in advocacy and riding their bikes in the Charlotte area. The numbers are low. We remain low on the LAB community list. I think we're still at the bronze level. We continue to try to get higher, but all of those things are that Ann's talking about are important. But I think I'm just not sure. How do you get more people riding? We're seeing that. Ann's blog post, it was really sort of a question, right? Ann, will it continue? Is this just sort of a hit and run type thing where everybody's on their bike now because they have to be, or a year from now, 2 years from now, will they still be riding? Have we increased ridership? Do we have more people riding bikes? Does that mean more power when we sit down and talk with city planners and city leaders about making changes? When we sit down and talk with CMPD and talk with them about issues about enforcement and why aren't these things being done? It's definitely a chicken and egg thing. It's a numbers game. Hopefully we get there. I think that we have a lot of people pushing in the right direction. Ann and I, generally when Ann and I disagree, we're still pushing towards a better solution and just arguing the different sides. I don't think it's ever been one is right or wrong, just different. And I might be wrong about that.
I'm always right.
I think we generally are really trying to make things better. And I think we both have the same frustration sometimes that it does seem sometimes difficult to move the needle even a little bit, but we just have to keep trying.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been encouraging.
I'm sorry, Ann, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's been encouraging recently to see. I mean, I have a lot of lawyers who, criminal defense lawyers, patent lawyers, whatever, just know me through the legal community and have sent me a message saying, where can I get where should I go get a bike?
Right.
So that's pretty neat. I mean, I just see a lot more people interested.
And when you do it, go get educated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we're going to jump off here. I can't thank you guys enough. I think essentially what we did in the past is we've just propagated probably more questions that we hope people ask down in the comments below. But Jeff, Ann, I can't thank you guys enough. Your desire and your passion to make cycling is so palpable. It's kind of fun to watch. I just kind of sit back and watch you two go at it in such a positive manner, though. I think if we all push each other, like Jeff, I had no problem with you calling me out on it. Matter of fact, I'd have been fine if you'd called me out in publicly because, hey, if it's public, then no, I'm serious. If it's public, people learn from it. Like Chad, it was a great video, but you missed this, this, and this, and this. Then if I add this, this, and this, and this into the next video, people learn from it. Well,
let me say that it's the challenge for me is that it's encouraging that you're doing it, right? I want to see other people trying to pass on this message of safety, and this is how we do it. But then my type A kicks in, and it's like, well, you missed this piece and this piece. So it's calling you out is probably not the right word. It's no, like, did you know that?
It's fine.
And that's why I do it privately. It's generally generates a better conversation if you keep it off the social media, and it's more productive, and it leads to conversations like this when you get someone like Ann involved in it. And and Ann and I do. I think we're both passionate, and we do. We work well together and trying to push the needle. So,
well, thank you guys so much. I hope you stay dry on this Isaias Monday.
It's boring.
Hurricane or whatever.
It's
raining out front here. Once again, Jeff Viscount, Ann Groninger, thank you so very much. We're going to put their details in the comments below and also some of the links where you can get educated and how to be a safer, a happier cyclist. So that's going to do it. Thanks again, you two.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.